Welcome to Safe Breakers, where each episode sees a safe containing £5,000 placed in an almost inaccessible location. Teams of madcap mechanics and unhinged engineers are challenged to design and build uniquely specialised machines. Machines that must race to collect the codes to the safe.
Got it.
Win the race and win the chance to break the safe. This time, we've conceived our most complicated challenge yet. The two teams must build an incredibly powerful crane, capable of clearing a path to the safe containing £5,000. But here's the twist. The crane must also be a train.
This time the race is taking place on this disused steam railway line.
The code to the safe has been hidden under increasingly heavy objects placed across the tracks. The teams must race along the rails, clearing the obstacles and collecting the code. The fastest team to do so earns the right to try and break the safe. The only problem is,
The safe itself is going to be hidden behind this, an old water tank from a steam train that weighs in at a massive ½ a ton. This is going to be fun.
Safe Breakers HQ, a disused warehouse deep in the Welsh valleys. Inside, we've created a state-of-the-art build zone containing every tool our teams could ever need.
Cranes have been used for hundreds of years, and as long as you've got a basic understanding of physics, you get the right counterweight or ballast, you can lift pretty much anything. The world record is 20,000 tons, which is the equivalent of 2,500 elephants. Yep, that's heavy. Now, our teams don't have to do anything quite as drastic as that, which is a good thing, because they've got 2 days, £1,000, and I don't think this country's got that many elephants. Scuba-Doo, laser racers, this is our warehouse. We're giving you 3 weeks to design, plan, then beg, borrow and steal all the bits and pieces you need to create your train-crane hybrid. 2 days to get it up and ready for challenge day. You up for this, boys?
Definitely, yes.
Good luck. Let's go.
Our first team are the Scuba-Doos. They are Team Captain Big Richard, Wayne, Mark, and Little Richard. No relation. And they've been close pals for years.
We met through scuba diving. That's been our passion for the last 15 years.
I think our background as divers means that we rely on each other for a lot of things.
As a team, this won't be their first build.
But as a team, we'll build anything and everything together. We built a rally car. We've done up a couple of old motorbikes.
We done Richard's jacuzzi, didn't we?
Is there nothing this team can't build?
I built quite a good snowman in the winter, last winter, yeah.
A pretty impressive CV, I'm sure you'll agree. But what of the opposition? The laser racers are Team Captain Trevor, his son Dan, and good friend Sean, who work together as a team of highly experienced laser cutters and fabricators.
We know all about the sort of fabricating side, but we know nothing about the engine. So we brought Darryl in, who's the mechanic, and he's the guy with the engines, and hopefully he won't let us down. We socialise together quite a bit. We've never really sort of got together as a team to sort of do something like this. So yeah, it's a new concept to us.
So as a team, they have limited build experience.
No, we've never actually built anything. Done a lot of karaoke.
But their complete lack of experience hasn't affected their confidence.
Yeah, I think our machine will do the job. I think we'll win it quite comfortably.
I'd love £5,000.
So it's the laser racers versus the Scuba-Doos, but only one team will earn the chance to take home £5,000.
Right, guys, come on, let's get it jacked up, get it on the blocks. First job day, wheels off.
The Scuba-Doos spent their cash on an old dumper truck, steel arm sections, a 500-litre water tank, and an electronic winch.
Right away. Let's get this in now.
Our two teams are competing under the watchful gaze of Chief In-House Engineer Chris Reynolds. It's his job to make sure that each design is safe and works well enough to at least make it to the start line.
This nice bit of engineering.
Rich, it seems like she's coming together quite nicely.
Yeah, we're on with it now. We're on schedule and on plan.
So look, clearly you've got, what is it, an old dump truck?
Yeah, it's an old dump truck, yeah. It's about 40 years old, we think.
40 years old.
We think it's about 40 years old.
Where
yeah.
did you find this?
Actually, I went to a scrapyard, and the guy who owned the scrapyard knew a guy who had it in his farm, and it was just been sat in his farm for about 10 years doing nothing.
OK, so to talk me through the design of your train-cum-crane hybrid.
We're going to use the skip mechanism as our boom, lift and lower, and it'll work in the opposite direction. So as the skip goes down, the boom comes up.
The Scuba-Doos are placing their crane arm in the upturned bucket of the old dumper truck. The truck's hydraulics will then lower the bucket, raising the crane arm. They will then transfer the steering hydraulic to the base of the arm so that they can then use the steering wheel to swing their crane arm from side to side. In their final piece of recycling, they'll be taking the hubs from the original wheels and converting them into homemade rail wheels.
Have you made any train wheels in the past?
Nope.
Can I just ask, is this a difficult thing to do?
Well, it's tricky because the profiles need to be right to allow it to go over the points.
The homemade wheels have to be millimetre perfect. The tiniest fault and they will derail. So let's hope he's done his maths.
You're very confident about this, Rich.
We are confident, yeah. Done my homework.
So what are you worried about then? What are your main concerns?
Well, main concerns really is the age of the vehicle. Being 40 years old, not worked for 10 years, we've got it running.
She's an old girl and you're asking her to lift quite a lot of weight, isn't it?
Well, that is the worrying factor.
Has she still got the hips for it? That's what we need to know.
We'll find out.
We want to try and bring that into there.
Over with the laser racers, it's all hands on deck as they bring together their enormous crane arm.
Now, if we slide that forward, right, we can then start to fit the 4-metre sections. Yeah?
The laser racers spent their £1,000 on a stripped-down Land Rover, several metres of steel tubing, some old train wheels, oil drums, and an electric winch.
Keep going. Hold it.
Now then, Trevor.
How
How you doing?
I'm all right. What's coming on?
This is looking massive.
Yeah.
Talk me through the design then.
Basically, it's just a Land Rover. We've ripped all the back off it, a crane boom fastened into it, and then just slewing round.
The laser racers are making their crane arm from scratch. Once assembled, they'll mount it on a swivelling A-frame built on the back of their old Land Rover. They are attaching rail wheels to the chassis, which will work solely as guide wheels to keep the vehicle on the tracks. They'll take their drive from the existing wheels.
It sounds like a great design, but what are you concerned about?
We're a new team we've got together. We've never built a crane before.
You've never built anything before?
Not as a team, not as this team. So it is a new project for us, and it's just I just don't want it to collapse or fall
On top
apart.
of you?
Yeah, basically.
You remain confident though?
Oh yeah, definitely I remain confident. Yeah.
With 4 hours gone, both teams start to focus on their wheels.
Right, centre of the wheel, 1,820.
One of the biggest challenges they will face on race day is keeping their vehicles on the tracks. The first job for the Scuba-Doos is to lock the pivoting chassis of their dumper truck. It is vital that their homemade wheels move in a perfectly straight line.
Right, what we're trying to do here now is straighten the both axles so we've got an actual equal distance between both sides so we know that the digger is dead straight. It has to be straight to go down the track. What we don't want is the vehicle crabbing and jumping off the rails.
Meanwhile, the laser racers are focusing on the Jeep wheels that they hope will give them the drive they need to power along the rails.
I'm changing over the drive wheels. We found some new wheels that will give us the right spacing we need to fit onto the rails.
Having met both teams, I take Chief Engineer Chris to one side to see what he makes of their designs.
So Chris, when we first thought about this challenge, a train-crane hybrid, I had no idea that we could have two such different designs.
I mean, they've both got their problems, though. I mean, completely. I mean, the dumper truck here, the hydraulics in it were designed to lift about a tonne over the centre of the hydraulic rams.
Where the bucket is?
Where the bucket is. Now we're putting a crane arm out the front. It's going to be the difference between somebody lifting here and somebody trying to lift a load out here.
And also, They're doing homemade railway wheels.
There doesn't seem to be any great accuracy to the way that they're putting them together. They've got no track for it to test it on. They're just really fabricating them out of bits of sheet steel.
Laser racers now. Talk me through what your issues with the laser racer design is.
They're relying on rubber tyres to run on the tops of steel rails. Now, as soon as you get a slight bit of moisture, to me, that sounds as if we could end up with a bit of a problem.
So
of
they might not have
slipping
any
and traction. Yeah, exactly.
So, as it stands, Scooby-Doo might not be able to lift anything. Laser racers might not even get to the obstacles to lift.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So they've both got their problems.
It's going to be a fun day.
Yeah.
It's Safe Breakers. Our two teams are hard at it constructing their train crane hybrids. Machines capable of racing over rails and lifting large objects to access the numbers that form the combination to our safe. The fastest team wins the right to try and break the safe and take home £5,000. We're 6 hours into day one and both teams are at key stages in their build. The Scuba-Doos have opted for the risky strategy of homemade rail wheels. They're converting the hubs from the old digger wheels, a job that's fallen to Captain Richard.
First job I got to do is get these tyres off these rims so I can cut them down to make our rail track wheels. And I believe that it's going to be a really smoky job, so the guys have kicked me out and asked me to come outside. Really kind of them, seeing as it's raining. Absolutely puffed. And I still got 3 more to do.
Back in the warehouse, the laser racers are focused on getting the base for their crane arm built.
Getting really excited now. The boys are actually mounting the swivel disc on now, which we're going to mount the A-frame to the top of that, and then hopefully we're going to actually mount the crane boom.
All right?
Yeah? Great.
Yeah. Yep.
Are they straight?
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it? So the good, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that, though. It's working good.
With the tyres off, Scooby-Doo Richard is starting to feel confident about his homemade train wheels.
I'm just coming to the end of my first wheel now. Just about to fit the flange and weld that into place. At the moment, really happy.
With the teams on a roll, I decide to sneak off and learn a bit more about the business of making cranes. This big boy is the AC-250.
I feel like Luke Skywalker in the Millennium Falcon.
It has an 80-metre arm and can lift a staggering 250 tonnes.
There we are.
With a price tag of 1.5 million quid, this crane is one of the biggest and best in the business.
Nothing to it. This is easy. Oh, the power, the power.
Its handler, Emir Williams, has been fool enough to let me have a go.
So, Emir, this crane,
Yeah.
5 months to build?
5 months to build.
How much will it cost me?
About £1.5 million.
OK, our teams have got a budget of £1,000 and 2 days to build their train crane hybrid. What do you make of that challenge?
Interesting. Very interesting.
When it comes to a crane, what are the key things that you think make it the best it can be?
The power of it.
So the generating of that power becomes a key issue, because our two teams have gone for two different systems. We've got hydraulics versus a winch. The laser racers are using a winch. What do you make of the winch?
Lightweight, less weight, probably quicker to move around, but not as quick and not as powerful to lift the boom up.
What are the benefits, do you think, of hydraulics?
Power and speed. On the downside, they're heavier, so in a race, it's obviously going to be a heavier, slower vehicle.
So if you were going to have to choose, if you would choose between the two, which one do you think you might go for?
Laser racers. If it's a new winch, I'd go for the winch. Reliability comes into it.
Just one more thing.
Yeah.
Can I have another go?
Yeah, come on. Come on, let's go.
So the pro is backing the laser racer's reliability over the potential power of the Scuba Doo's hydraulics.
Can I be making more of a mess of this?
No, you're all right so far.
Back at the warehouse, day one is coming to a close. The teams have been hard at it for almost 10 hours, and tomorrow they have to be ready to test their machines. The Scuba Doos have finished their homemade rail wheels and are already mounting their crane arm.
This is a big moment, really. This can't go wrong. If it drops off the end, either side, end of game.
Next door, the laser racers had also hoped to get their crane arm mounted, but they've run out of time and fallen behind.
OK, gents, Scuba Doos, laser racers, that's it. Day one is over. Rich, put the welder down. Down, back away from the hammer. You've done all you can for the first day. You've worked incredibly hard. You all look absolutely shattered. Tomorrow's test day, and we're going to get to see just how impressive your cranes could be when we test them. Fingers crossed, all the hard work's going to come good. Then you've got one day left before the challenge day, and we get to see them in all their glory. Have a good night tonight, lads, and I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.
Shattered. Absolutely knackered.
I'm a bit concerned, I was this morning.
It's always going to be tight, but yeah, well.
You know, 2 days ain't very long, you know, for something like this, so, you know, there'll be problems, but we'll be fine.
Tomorrow we'll see.
There's two objectives, that it'll lift the test tomorrow, and if it gets through that, we just got to make sure the wheels fit the track.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
It's the start of day two, and in the warehouse, just over our shoulder, both our teams are already hard at it. With 15 years of teamwork under their belt, the highly organised Scuba Doos continue to push ahead.
There's welding on the front jib, but we need to get that up ready for test. Let's get going.
Next door, the inexperienced laser racers have fallen behind, and Captain Trevor is starting to feel the heat.
The other guys now are starting to edge ahead, and we can't really let that happen. You know, at the end of the day, this is a competition, and we're in to win this. And let's get underway.
OK. In a couple of hours, they're going to be back in here, and it's time for them to test their machines, and that is when we're going to see what they're made of.
The final job for the Scuba Doos before test is to attach the old steering hydraulic to their crane arm.
We've got this hydraulic ram. Going to drop that onto that pin there, over to this one. Once that's in place, we're going to connect it up to the hydraulic pipes, which will be, in turn, connected to the steering mechanism. So when we move the steering wheel, hopefully the arm will move left and right.
It's test time. First up are the Scuba Doos. Chief in-house engineer Chris and I are about to find out if their 40-year-old hydraulics can actually lift anything.
Scuba Doos. She's been waiting 40 years for her last moment of glory.
If she gets through it.
If she gets through it.
OK.
So, Richard, remind us what we're testing.
Well, we're testing the end of the crane arm, whether it's going to lift up any weight at all. It's not designed to lift anything like this. So we're going to find out in the next 5 minutes, is it going to work or not?
So, boys, we've got to wait for you to lift. It's nothing compared to the half a tonne you're going to have to lift on challenge day, but it will give us the indication that we need as to whether the old girl's hips are up to the job or not. OK, let's see what she can do.
Ready?
The test weight is a mere 70 kilos, lighter than anything they'll be required to lift on challenge day.
OK, Rich. Come on! Get her up!
They nearly had it, but it looks as though the aging hydraulics are struggling.
It's not working, is it? No, it's not good enough.
Rich. Boys, it didn't work. Clearly. Nearly. But nearly's not enough. What's the plan?
Well, we go to our backup plan, put the winch on. We thought it would struggle with the hydraulics, so let's get the winch fitted and...
Plan B. Combine
Plan B.
together.
The problem, of course, being that we're not going to know whether the winch is going to be strong enough until challenge day.
No.
We'll have to take that chance, Ben. But my hands are on the money already.
Let's get it unhooked.
Not only do they not know if their backup winch will work, but they have no idea whether or not those homemade rail wheels will even stay on the rails. Things are looking pretty bad for the Scuba-Doos.
Plan B then.
Right, guys, that was a bit disappointing. We thought that might happen, so let's get the winch fitted.
Knockback.
Well, we've had knockbacks before, haven't we? Christ, we can sort this out.
Just going to see the boys. They're back from the test. I'm going to find out what's going on.
Cool.
There you go, boys.
Spot on. Half a tonne.
Half a tonne.
We got the end. Picked it up, bottom of the toe.
Nothing fell. Nothing fell apart. Piss.
No problem.
Well done, lads. Did you have issues? Yeah, honestly.
Of course we had issues.
Well, that's good. It's good. It's good to have issues.
Yeah, big issue.
It did work. It did work. No, that's cool.
Plan B.
Plan B. Oh, look, great. I'll tell the boys. Just...
We'll wait for the cheer.
Yeah, all right. Failed miserably. No,
Did it?
There's some issues. Ready? Yay! Yay! No, seriously, if we get this sorted now, I'd say we've got a good chance here. So they've failed at the first hurdle.
But before the laser racers can test, they need to play catch-up, as they still haven't got their crane arm mounted.
Right, let's get this winch in, and then get the boom on, and get it bloody wired up so we're finished. Just ease that through there, fella. See if she spins. Whoa, wicked. Sorted. Right, we can get the boom on now.
After nearly 2 days of building their train-crane hybrids, only 4 hours remain before the Scuba-Doos and laser racers go head-to-head in a time trial race, collecting codes to the safe as they lift, haul and heave their way along our rail race course. The fastest team will get a chance to break the safe and win £5,000. Before race day, both teams are given the chance to test their machines.
OK, Rich.
Things did not go to plan for the Scuba-Doos. Their modified 40-year-old dumper truck failed to lift our test weight.
Boys, it didn't work. Clearly.
So they've activated Plan B, a winch to give the aging hydraulics a helping hand.
And hopefully now, with that pulling, downwards with the hydraulics pushing up, we should have enough power to get it going.
Well, if that doesn't work, Rich, we'll be cheering the opposition on to £5 mate.
OK, fella, bring it in. Let's get going.
Sensing an opportunity to get one up on their rivals, the laser racers, with some help from one of our engineers in a forklift, get their crane arm on and ready to test.
Is that central?
Hang on, mate. Whoa. Go down. Yeah, that's in. That's pretty much in. Yeah, it's in. Yeah, I'm impressed with that. Yeah!
Finally, the laser racers are ready to enter the test arena. Can their homemade crane arm lift our test weight, or will it just collapse? Love it. Well then, laser racers.
Looks good, doesn't it?
It looks incredible.
It looks real good.
Tell us, what are we going to be testing?
We're going to be testing the winch and the crane arm, and we can actually lift something. Hopefully, it's going to work.
Major concern being that it might all fall apart.
Yeah.
Trev, you ready to try this?
I certainly am.
You go and start her up. Let's see if we can get this winch working. It's the moment of truth for the inexperienced laser racers. Will their first ever build together actually work?
So bear in mind, team, the weight you're lifting now is just a fraction of what you're going to have to lift on challenge day. OK, let's fire it up. Let's see if she goes. Whoa, look at the car!
Yes!
Round of applause, James. Come on.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
Trevor, come and join us. You can high-five your team. You can say thank you to Sean. Well done.
So their crane works a treat, and with their guide rail wheels to keep them on track, they are looking like a firm favourites. Of course, we've still no idea if their rubber drive wheels will actually give them any traction, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad, especially on this show. But there's no time to celebrate, as only 3 hours build time remains.
Right, boys, let's get the train wheels on, ballast on the back, and then we're race ready.
They're attaching 3 oil barrels to the rear end of their vehicle. When filled with water, these will weigh 150 kilos each. This extra weight is to stop them toppling over when they start lifting.
If we jack the front and back up with the big trolley jacks, and then you just slide the rails under the under it and under the wheels, and we're away.
The Scuba-Doos are also on the home straight.
Just got to finish the wheels off and we're ready to race. Excellent.
The last job of the day is to organise the seating.
This here's, boys, Frankenstein's monster.
OK, guys, Scuba-Doos, laser racers, can I have your attention? Would you believe it? That's your 2 days done and dusted. You have created some incredible machines. You need to get yourselves home, have a good wash. And the next time we see these monsters, it's going to be on the start line.
Absolutely shattered. It's been 2 real hard days, non-stop.
Test didn't run in our favour particularly well, but we think we got something lined up that might just tip the balance.
I'm absolutely delighted. This is what we've built. This is what we've got. It's a winning combination. We're going to win. We want that money.
The laser racers have created a ruthlessly efficient lifting machine. It may look like they've nicked a leg off the Eiffel Tower, painted it red and stuck it on an old Jeep, but the proud winch-powered crane, married with the purpose-built rail wheels, make for a mouth-watering combination. Their Achilles heel? The rubber drive wheels. Untried, untested, the laser racer's ability to actually go anywhere sits in the lap of the gods. The Scuba-Doos have draped their design over the ageing bones of a once mighty dumper truck. The creaking hydraulics craftily coupled with a winch to try and breathe new life into its lift. The entire contraption sits atop hastily homemade rail wheels. It's a minefield of potential problems, but if the old girl can sing one more song, she might just lead her boys to victory. It's race day. And at this disused steam railway in the valleys of South Wales, our two teams will